So Let Sleeping Gods Lie follows the journey of former Ivy League student, anthropologist, archaeologist Corbin Pierce become community college history professor who is effectively a magical activist. Okay.
Mm.
So I'm going to say something and only people who know these books are going to get it. It's a mishmash, but it's the best log line that I can think of. So Let Sleeping Gods Lie is Harry Dresden meets Indiana Jones in Lee Bardugo's ninth house, but works for Greenpeace. Okay, so he's not a wizard for hire, but he is a magically enabled person who is an archaeologist by training and education. And it's Lee Bardugo's ninth house is about the secret societies of Yale. It's this whole urban fantasy, like it's very popular. Um,
Okay.
but it's just as a comparison. So Corbin Pierce is a magical spiritual activist in that the indigenous magical flora and fauna have been pushed to the outskirts of the city. And by definition, this happens everywhere in that urbanization, colonization impact the indigenous wildlife and the indigenous plants and everything, including the magic. So in this world, the magic system is very much based, like I said, on that animistic idea that everything contains energy and a spirit. And then the people who are coming to this land are then encroaching on it and then developing on it and then using it for their own purposes. So the way the magic works, so just it's kind of integral to the story, is that uh, magic has a price. Of course it does. But it literally has a physical price in that if I want to do some kind of magic, I'm going to fuel the spell using my energy. If I'm not a monster, if I am a monster, I'm going to like draw the energy out of other living things in order to power my magic. So effectively there's an ethics associated with the magic from the jump. Like this is introduced in like chapter 1 and 2. I'm not spoiling anything for anyone. But Corbin is trying to protect the magical fauna. So in chapter 1 he meets a raccoon that exists both in the spirit lands and in the material physical world, because some animals do that. Raccoons are indigenous to the area, and are part of indigenous folklore also. So that's why the raccoon also there's a funny story about the raccoon. Uh, but but the whole idea is Corbin is aligned with the uh what's the word I'm looking for? He's aligned with the values of being a steward of the land. So, and also just to be super clear, I am not an indigenous person. Corbin Pierce is not an indigenous main character. I will not write from the lens of the perspective of an indigenous person. I don't have that experience. I don't have that background. I feel like it would be a disservice for me to do that. I am not telling other authors what they should or shouldn't do, but I won't touch that landmine. Uh,
Yeah.
what I did do though is I included a lot of researched material into both talking about the indigenous practices of the Algonquin people and and the folklore, but then also spelled it out very clearly in the book that Corbin is not an indigenous person, but aligns with the values of the people. So it's an interesting tightrope to walk because I wanted to tell the story without co-opting any, I don't want to co-opt a marginalized perspective.